And then when you send it will trigger the exploit, as you can see here. So that is all it does at the moment. It doesn't really go any further. So that's what's going on there. We also got the release of the YouTube jailbreak autoloader for the PS5. And this, of course, allows you to automate the payload loader for YouTube jailbreak, which basically means that you can just launch the YouTube application and it will run the full chain exploit, running the kernel exploit and then the bin loader. And then any payloads that you want it to run, like ETA, N or K stuff, it will just run all of that for you automatically. And then close the YouTube application once it's done. So it turns it into a one-click jailbreak. Just launch the YouTube application, let it run through, and by the end of it, you should have your console jailbroken with ETA, N or K stuff running without having to send any payloads over the network, without even requiring a network connection, because you can turn off the internet completely and it runs all of the payloads locally. So that is very handy. I do have a backup file created for that you can restore onto the console to get it set up with the latest release of ETA. So it will automatically load. You can also copy the PS5 autoloader folder to root of a USB and then drive, add whatever payload you wanted to load into that folder, and then edit the autostart.txt file and change the payloads that it normally loads to the payload that you want it to load. And then when you plug in that USB drive and load the YouTube application, it will choose to load that payload off the USB. You can also upload that folder to the data folder on the hard drive. So it can just load the version from the internal storage instead of off a USB drive. So that makes the YouTube jailbreak much more convenient to use. But there's also been an update to the main project as well, so this version is the same as version 1.0. Except the difference here is that it now adds an embedded update blocker for the 1.1 backup. So if you download the backup file and restore it onto the PS5, you will have that update blocker automatically included. If you're updating the exploit, because you already have an older version of the YouTube installed exploit, or using a previous jailbreak, to switch to the YouTube jailbreak, then you'll need to install it manually. So you can download the download0.zip file. However, it's not just a case of copying the download0.zip where you connect on FTP to your PS5, and then you go into the user download folder, and then the title ID of the YouTube application, so 650, and then in there, you replace the download 0.dat file with the one from the exploit. And that will get the exploit installed. But then to install the update blocker, then go into System Data Priv, MMS, and you'll find all of your database files in there. And you want to extract the appinfo.db file, and extract that to the same folder as your download 0 folder for the exploit, which contains the appinfo editor Python file. So extract it into the same location as that Python file. And then right-click in that folder, open in terminal, and then run that script by typing in Python space appinfo_editor.py. And that will go ahead and edit that file. And it will create a backup of your original in case it causes any database corruption. So the original file will still be there, but you'll now have the edited one. So you want to take the new edited version and copy that over to your PS with FTP and update the file. And that's how you can install it manually to get the update blocker applied. And that should prevent the YouTube application from updating. And this is primarily to fix the issue that a lot of people were running into when running the YouTube jailbreak, which is this download and update file message appearing, which soft locks the YouTube application, preventing it from going into the application to run the exploit. So that's the update to the YouTube jailbreak, but we're not done. We also have an update to the RPI yet another RPI PlayStation exploit. So this particular version again uses the games A Year of Spring, PS4, and Arcade Spirits, the new Challengers, as a game that can load an exploit via a save file that executes Python script. It can then be used as an entry point to jailbreak the console. And we now have the full implementation now of the labs kernel exploit. So we have the labs and the bin loader that can allow it to execute payloads. So you can now effectively jailbreak your PS for using this exploit. Now again, it's only up to 1 to DOT02. Still just like the Blu-ray exploit, because it's using the labs kernel exploit. But if it can be chained with any of the future exploits, we could also use it to jailbreak higher firmwares eventually. But that is the general idea. So the version on the release is 3.1.0. So you need that version of the save file. So you can go ahead and download the save.zip file here to your computer. And then you can use the updater that's included in the code. If you go to the code and download it as a zip, then all you have to do is run the application. If you already have the save file set up, you can just run the previous version. Now, you can update to the latest version by using the updater. If you had a previous version installed, all you have to do is get the exploit and then use netcat, GUI or some payload injector to inject the update payload. And when you inject that payload, it then asks you to send the save.zip file, which you can download from the repo. And you just send that using netcat GUI on the same port, and that will extract that save file and update the save data with the latest version of the exploit. Once that's done, you can press X to close the application, and then just launch the game again. And when you load the save file, it will now be the updated version from the repo that is loaded. Now, if you want to know how to install the save, I did cover that in a previous video, which I'll leave in the description. You can use the save tool to extract the decrypted save data from the original save and replace it, or you can use the Discord save bots, like the save bots on the HTS Discord server. You can see now that we have the updated version 3.1.0, so it can now load the kernel exploit. All I need to do is drag in the laptop Python file and send that to the console, and that will start running the kernel exploit. It does take a while for it to actually execute. It is quite slow compared to some of the other exploits when loading the labs kernel exploit right now. So you do have to give it some time for it to fully complete the process. But as you can see here, once it is done, it then says it's awaiting a connection. So you can then send the bin loader as a follow-up payload. Send that with netcat, and there we go. That's now running, and now that the bin loader is running, you can then send any additional payloads that you want to run. Like the hen payload, the homebrew, enabler, or gold hen. And then you have the console properly jailbroken with the debug settings, the ability to install package files and run your fake packages. So yeah, you can literally jailbreak your console now using this game. So at least for now, we can say goodbye to the Louis exploit and use this game instead, which is a much more readily available game. Not one that's only available in Japan. So that is fantastic, but again, it only works up to 12.02, and you can already jailbreak up to that Blu-ray disc. But if this can be chained with any of the future exploits that come out, it would be very useful, and this can also work on the PS5. Although the labs kernel exploit and bin loader are for PS4, I believe at the moment they're not fully functional on PS5 but the exploit itself, the userland exploit, does also work on the PS5. So yes, some fantastic updates to that exploit as well. And we also have the Netflix and hack project, which is nearing completion. So this one is also getting pretty far. If we go to the payload section, we can see we now have the lapsed payloads implemented. For the kernel exploit, in this case, it has to be done in stages. I believe there is some kind of size limit. So you have to load the first one to prepare one payload first, then prepare to, and then the third one to actually run it. And it can get to the point of actually running the debug settings on the console if you execute it in the correct order. And we also have more image files for the M.2 drives. Before, it was only 2 terabyte and 256 gigs. Now it also supports 1 terabyte NVMe drives and for terabyte, and also 500 gigabyte drives, which is sort of the main size range that you would typically from your M.2 drives. And this is so that you can actually install the Netflix application, correct version, without needing to restore a backup file, which resets your console by restoring one of these NVMe images that has the Netflix app already installed to your NVMe drive of the same size, which you can then connect into your PS5, and you'll be able to access that version of the Netflix application there, or copy it to your internal storage, allowing you to just add the proxy settings to be able to then use the Netflix application to jailbreak the console. That's one big benefit that the Netflix and hack project for loading the jailbreak, which you cannot do at the moment with the Y2JB. The YouTube jailbreak with that, you have to restore a backup if you don't have a previous jailbreak already. We also have a quick update to the app dumper for the PS5. For dumping your PS5 it's games. Now on 1.05b by Echo Stretch, which now has the ability to auto backport the games and also automatically fake sign the ELF files as well, which basically allows you to turn the game into a playable game. Backup that could then be immediately loaded through something like Flow or the K-Stuff Dump Runner. So that is all now built into the payload. Whereas previously, you have to do all that stuff on the computer after you dump it. So it basically handles everything for you now, which is fantastic. And also, Idle Sauce has been updating the self-decryptor to improve it, so that more games can be properly hopefully decrypted, allowing more games to work. And other games that had certain problems can now work better, and run better than they were previously, when decrypted using the updated decryptor from Idle Sauce. So anyway, that'll do it for this video. Still lots of stuff to come, but I don't want to have this video run too long. So that'll do it for this update. So hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful.